So he comes back and he thinks he's a wolf. What's up, guys? It's Kictor and my beautiful girlfriend Stitch, and today we're going to be talking about Yuwu.
What's this?
Remnants of Filth. That's kind of a gross name. Like, it makes me think of like a counter that hasn't been cleaned up. Like, you need to get the Clorox wipes out for the remnants of filth.
But imagine the counter is society and you're pretty much on point.
Stitch power read this book in a day.
Yep.
But I actually know nothing about it. All that I know is that it's a spin-off or in the same series as Arha, the white husky, and his cat Shizun.
What? White husky. So, do you want to know what this one's about?
I will guess. There's a guy.
Yes.
Filthy.
In what way?
Dirty. Maybe it's like a classism thing, and he's seen as like the dirt of society. Like, he's the lowest of the low, and the other guy is like the highest of the high.
Wow, she's really good.
The like soldier looking guy is like the filth, and then the guy holding the money pouch is obviously the rich.
Sure, let's go with that.
The noble general's only stain. F***ing a dude.
Kinda.
Noble-born Mo Shi is the foremost general of Changhua, known for his ruthless temper and ascetic air. What does ascetic mean?
To be like G.
Aloof?
Yes.
I also didn't know what that meant. Once he was one of two promising young commanders, twin stars of the Empire. Also like G. His comrade, gay. The lowborn, the filth.
Oh, is this a gay to have a comrade?
Yes. XiMang was Mo Shi's brother-in-arms.
Also gay.
Best friend, also gay. And secretly, his lover.
Gay!
Until the day XiMang turned traitor and joined the ranks of their nation's greatest enemy. Ooh, lover to rival?
Yeah, rival's not a strong enough word.
Oh, okay. Now, XiMang has been returned to the Empire a ruined man, a shadow of the military genius he once was. The public clamors for his death, and no one yearns for vengeance more than Mo Shi. Oh, so his ex is like,
I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Or so he thought.
I'm not gonna kill you, I'm gonna kiss you.
Oh, for faced once more with his bitterest enemy, Mo Shi is left with more questions than answers. Why am I so hard? Why did the man he loved betray him? And what secrets hide behind XiMang's tortured eyes?
Do you want to look at the pictures?
Okay, so they have a misunderstanding.
Slight misunderstanding is all.
And then, oh, I'm so sorry, baby girl, for our misunderstanding. I put a little choker on you, little collar, my little husky. Oh, wrong book.
Meatbun knows one thing: put men in collars.
And Chuaning
I thought when he showed up, I did think it was Chuaning or like some ancestor of him. I don't think so, but yeah,
maybe.
It looks exactly like him though.
Wow. You know what? After reading the back and looking at the pictures, I feel like my assumption is exactly the same. There's the filth guy, there's the non-filth guy. They gotta bang it out.
Good job, great job.
Thank you.
I will say, you did absolutely get them reversed.
Oh.
Here, this one's Mo Shi.
Is Mo Shi the filth guy?
No, Mo Shi is the
noble guy.
nobleman.
Oh.
And then XiMang is the lowborn. Okay, you ready for my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Here we have Mo Shi on the top, and we have XiMang, picture on the bottom, and then we have a list of qualities, of traits on the side. I want you to assign each trait to one of them. Who's Gaga? Which one of these two is Gaga?
XiMang is Gaga.
Okay.
Born a slave, XiMang. Ray of sunshine, Mo Shi. Bottom, Mo Shi. Said, don't take it too seriously about sleeping together, Mo Shi. Stabbed the other one, XiMang, holding a sword.
The answer for these is that they are all XiMang.
Oh! So he's Gaga and the bottom.
I know!
Into that.
I know. And he's like the little ray of sunshine guy. He's
Wow.
just very happy-go-lucky. Creates an interesting dynamic in
Okay.
the lovemaking scenes. Yeah, but he also said, don't take it too seriously, which Moshi took to heart very much. Did not like that. Moshi is the one who's like, I am in love with you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But a little emotionally constipated, so we didn't get that far.
Interesting.
Because they were like both so good at what they did, it feels like they have like a really good like equal friendship. Oh, Meatbun.
I've read Case File.
Yep.
Up to where the translation stopped, which was pretty far.
Yes. And you've also read Arha.
Yep.
So, from what you know of Meatbun, what do you feel like is going to be involved in this book by default because it's Meatbun?
There is going to be some sort of like mental manipulation where maybe like your reality isn't reality, or something like a little timey-wimey, or Shizun fucking.
Alright, I think that about sums it up. Let's go over some Meatbun-isms. So for Meatbun, I feel like I found all of these commonalities across all 3 books, more or less.
Okay.
So, in Yuwu, you will find, as you have found in other Meatbun books, an altered mental state.
Yes, that's what I said!
Okay, this could be bloodlust, it could be going berserk, insanity. It has many forms, but it involves going a little apeshit.
Okay.
Unreliable memory and or amnesia, so like you can't even count on your own, like, memories or sense of self, which is kind of contributing to like going crazy.
Yep.
Illusionary dream worlds, when, you know.
In Yuwu as well?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Okay.
Where sexy times usually happen.
Okay, yeah.
Extreme torture.
Yeah.
Really extreme, terrible torture.
Okay.
Drugs that make you horny. Always a good thing.
Uh-huh.
Sex scenes so explicit that you question all of your life choices.
Oh, really?
Yes, actually,
Have you bookmarked any of those for me?
it's chapter 28.
Oh.
Younger top, older bottom, a classic. Heart-wrenching betrayal.
Okay.
We'll sprinkle that. All of the above, somehow intrinsically combined, like a punch to the face.
Let's read the sex scene.
You can't! It's a whole chapter!
It's a whole chapter.
It's explicit. They say words I didn't know you were allowed to print.
I'm gonna find the words. Never mind, you're young. I respect the elderly and cherish the youth, so I'll let you top. Between us guys, whatever goes, as long as we both feel good. Okay.
Moving on. Okay, so yes. This is a scientific graph of how reality usually works. On one end of the spectrum, you have wanting to kill the object of your obsession.
Right.
Along the middle, you just have being a sad, angry, lonely little man. And then on the very other end of the spectrum, far end of the spectrum, you have wanting to fuck their brains out. Okay? Now with Meatbun, I've noticed that the science changes quite drastically.
Honest to God, genuine hate fucking.
The line graph becomes a circle. The wanting to kill and wanting to f***, they meet at the very top.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
And honestly, she does it so well. Like, it's something very believable. Like, it's not usually my thing. It's not my favorite trope. But she does it in a very believable, compelling way where I'm like, yeah, that is a complex feeling to have towards someone, and it makes sense given your history together. It's not just like a weird kink thing. I mean, it is for her, maybe. But it's like, it works in the story, so, yeah.
Oh yeah, the plot.
So, a big central theme to the book is that there is slavery and classism in the cultivation world.
I called classism.
You did. You really did. And that is central to the book. So, basically, people who don't have any cultivation powers, or the mortals, so to speak, they are at the bottom rung of society, and they can be, like, enslaved and drafted into the military, or, like, just kind of regular household slaves. XiMang was the first guy to really become like a low-born slave guy who became like a general in the army.
Okay.
And he actually was general of a whole army of like mortals, you know, it's like not cultivators. They were just like slaves, but they were like a really great army, and so they actually like did a lot to like they came a long ways in terms of like, hey, maybe these people are kind of useful and should be treated with respect. But he quickly found out that there was limits to that. As soon as they encountered like any strife, as soon as like they died, he realized that nobody actually cared about his soldiers. Nobody cared about him.
Right.
You know, they could die for the emperor all they wanted, but nobody actually gave a damn whether they died or not. And so that made him really upset and disillusioned with society, and kind of contributed towards a descent into Wei Wuxian-esque disillusionment and madness.
So it's like poor people can't cultivate, or they don't have the opportunity to go to cultivation university.
If you are not born into like a noble family with any sort of noble bloodline, like you are a commoner, you are not allowed to cultivate. It doesn't look like it's possible to develop that spiritual core without being in like a cultivation school or whatever.
Okay.
But at least in this country.
Interesting.
Yes, but in other countries...
So he's like, I'm gonna go to fucking Switzerland where university is free or whatever.
Except the Swiss are all demons.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Gotcha. So that makes sense. So like literally because of the classism in his world, he's kind of like, fuck you guys, and like the prejudice I was born into, I'm gonna go...
Yeah, so something, basically, when his army was decimated, he begged the emperor to just let them have proper burials.
Yeah.
And the emperor at the time was like,
He was like, ew, stinky.
Ew, stinky. No, they can just go in a mass and marked grave. Because actually, you're slaves and I don't care about you. And so he's like, okay. And after kind of coping with that reality for a while, he suddenly just disappeared and he popped up in an enemy country leading their troops to battle because they were demonic cultivators and they didn't really care.
So he became the Yiling Gatriarch.
He really did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Friends to lovers, but are they boyfriends?
Yeah. Big old dilemma of being like, hey, we're best friends who sleep together and we're each other's most important person, but we actually haven't had that I love you confession.
They did not DTR.
What's that?
Define the relationship.
Yes. They didn't. Which I think is Meatbun's evil pipeline.
The what are we?
The what are we to evil pipeline.
Okay.
A betrayal sandwich. There are multiple levels of betrayal in this sandwich of betrayal.
A little pastrami in the middle.
So, what happens is, there's the first betrayal, which is Moshi watches Gumong kind of fall into kind of a slovenly state. He's like, gives up on everything. He's like, you know what? Nobody cares about me. Nobody cares about any of my guys. I'm just gonna go to brothels and drink all day and not do anything. And Moshi sees that and he's like, what the fuck? You are betraying everything I thought you were, everything we believed in. Like, how could you just give up like this? How could you give up on me? Like, you were just going and seeing all, like, these women in brothels and, like, what happened to us? So that was the first betrayal.
Bisexual king?
Sure. Then came the betrayal of him joining the enemy country and fighting their own troops.
Right.
And all of that. And then came the betrayal of him stabbing Moshi after he tried to talk to him and be like, hey, don't go to the dark side, please, pretty please.
It's like, the dark side gave me a degree, motherfucker!
It's true! He's like, I'm not so mad that he betrayed the country because, honestly, I get it. But why did he have to betray the country for the cannibals who live next door and practice demonic cultivation and are cannibals?
Because they be wildin'. Obligatory boner after the stabbing?
A little bit after.
So they still love each other.
I'll get to that. Okay, first we have to go through the worst kind of degradation imaginable.
The worst kind of degradation imaginable.
So imagine the worst kind of degradation.
Okay.
Worse than that.
I don't know, my brain's pretty fucked up.
As you know from reading the back of the book, Gumong comes back to the country. This is where we get a little bit into spoilery territory. 2 years after he comes back to the country, Moshi finally is able to come back from the border into the capital and, like, learn what happens to him. And so what he learned is that when Gumong was returned to the country, it was basically because the other country surrendered and offered him up as like, hey, here's the traitor, do whatever you want with him as kind of a peace gesture because we give up. But by the time he arrived in the country, he was completely mentally broken.
Okay.
Yumong was completely mentally broken. They returned him, but his mind was in shambles.
Okay.
And it's kind of suggested that this may have been intentional on that country's part to, like, maybe prevent him from leaking secrets or anything. Kind of some weird KGB thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So he comes back, and he thinks he's a wolf.
The worst kind of degradation imaginable. On all levels except physical. I am a wolf.
Yes. His mind and his memories have both been eradicated, and his spiritual core is broken. And for whatever reason, that left him thinking that he was a wolf. He, like, I cannot stress to you enough that he thought he was a wolf. Like, he did not know any human language. He did not think of himself as human. They had to spend 2 years teaching him, like...
Could he shake a paw?
hey. Like, he was escorted back in, like, a cage with wolves, and he was just hanging out with them and eating raw meat. It was bad. But that's not even the worst part. That's just where we're getting started. Fast forward 2 years later, Moshi finally shows up, and he learns where XiMang has been this entire time, since, you know, he became the wolf guy. He is in a brothel. So he comes back, and the Emperor's like, I'm gonna put his old master in charge of him. His old master is an asshole. His master is like, I'll just put you in a brothel. And this is not just any kind of brothel either. It is a brothel for prisoners of war and other slaves from other countries. And it's specifically for people to go in and vent their frustrations out.
Oh,
so it's not
just... It's a extra rapey brothel.
Yes, so it's not even just about sexually violating these people. It's also about just absolutely brutalizing them. It's about just beating the shit out of them to feel better about whatever that country did to you or your family.
That's terrible.
Yes, so essentially he has been tortured for 2 years. Everything's allowed in this brothel.
Yeah.
Everything's happened to him. All while he has absolutely no shred of his former self. So he's covered in scars and shit. And so anyways, Moshi like really fights the urge to go see him. When he finally goes and sees him, he is just absolutely shocked by what he sees.
Yeah.
Because, like, he doesn't know about the wolf thing, so what he sees is just that XiMang is, like, totally vacant and not acting like himself. He's just kind of very submissive, lets anything happen, and barely speaking to him. And he's so angry at XiMang.
Oh my god!
Now, like, he very much hates him more than he's willing to accept that he still loves him at this point. And so he still doesn't understand why he's there or how he's let himself fall into such shit. Because in his mind, he's like, you should have died. Like, you should have, like, died or killed. You should never have, like, suffered this much dishonor. And, like, XiMang doesn't act like he recognizes him at all and is just like, pay up, do whatever you want to be. And he's so angry because he thinks that XiMang is, like, okay with prostituting himself, even though clearly there's no agency involved in this situation. And especially with all of their, like, past interactions where he's like, don't take it so seriously, it's just sleeping together, it doesn't matter, you know. All of these other, like, things that had bothered him in the past are, like, now coming out, and he is, like, thinking the worst, and he just has so much anger to process. As the interaction goes on, he kind of starts to pick up on something being wrong.
He's like, oh, wait, you're a fucking wolf!
But the worst part, and this really broke my heart, was at one point, after he learns, like, all of, like, the amount of torture and abuse he's been through, and then, like, the little money jar of, like, the money, like, because he asked for money, and then he took money from him. So just to talk to him, because he wouldn't otherwise comply, like, the jar tips over, and it's completely empty. And he learns that in 2 years of all of this abuse and taking these clients, no one has ever paid him. Because they all hate the traitor so much that they consider him even, like, worse than a slave.
Obligatory boner.
Yes. So, this is another more spoilery thing, but I have to, like, give you something to look forward to after all of that.
Okay.
So,
fellas, is it gay if your wolf best friend turns you on?
He's mostly humanish at this point. So, obligatory illusionary dream world. Moshi and XiMang are both in it, and Moshi is under the assumption that XiMang has been forced to take an aphrodisiac. That's what he's been told.
Okay.
And so when he comes upon XiMang in this illusionary dream world, even though he's prepared for all of the dream world shit, he does assume that he finds the real XiMang.
Okay.
In a very unfortunate state.
Oh no.
A little hot and bothered. Kind of a classic fuck or die situation. Not that extreme, but it feels that way, right?
Oh god.
And so he's like, my goal for getting us out of this dream was I have to keep him like calm and like not feed into this illusion more than he's already experiencing it. So he's actually like, I will not succumb to the boner.
Right.
But as he's like kind of wrestling him down and they're tussling,
oh
he's
no,
like,
I'm gonna succumb
it's a
to
very
the boner.
erotic situation, okay? And then like by the time he's got a full-on boner, he's like, wait a second, I should just knock him out. So he knocks him out, and he's like, whew. But then, turns out, it's not the real XiMang at all. It really was a dream thing. So he's like, and the villain shows up and is like, ha, I knew you were fucking gay for him. He's like, I told you that he took an aphrodisiac, and you came up with all of this in your own little mind palace, which is weird, and I'm kind of shaming you for it a little bit. But anyways, back to the killing. Oh yeah, speaking of villains, cannibalism.
Cannibalism!
Yeah! So, in this world, the demonic cultivators from the neighboring kingdom eat the hearts and eyeballs of other cultivators to like get a little power boost, like, you know, the mushroom in Mario.
What?
Yes, lots and lots and lots of them.
Do they take them out of dead bodies, or they kill people for this?
They kill people for this.
Okay, well...
Yeah, a lot of them. So that's horrifying.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the tribe that XiMang is a part of?
Yeah, he went and joined this, he joined up with this neighboring country, and, like, that's just all the rage there. I don't think he actually, I mean, I have no way of knowing.
Yeah, like, did he partake?
I don't know if he partook, but there's definitely, the main villain at this point is, like, slipping up the eyeballs.
Ew.
It's so gross. In, like, Arha, wasn't there, like, corpse brides?
Yep.
Also, they make a reappearance here.
Okay.
Lots and lots of dead ladies.
Weird amount of corpse brides.
Yeah, a very large amount. Corpse bride.
Meatbun just really liked the movie.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, that's the cover of Volume 2.
Oh.
Looking good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wait, so does he have a collar on because he's a wolf?
No.
On all levels.
I think you're fixated on that a little, but yeah, it's like...
How do you not
It's not a big deal.
on the wolf thing?
He's fine. He got better. His master, like, did a really shitty thing to him, which was, like, put on this collar that can't be removed. This is actually kind of...
Kinky?
Yeah. This is hardly ever done to slaves. It's, like, a new low. It's, like, even other slaves look down on you.
Because you've got the collar.
Because you've got the collar on. You're, like, the little bitch boy now.
Okay.
So that's awful. I really do like that the backstory between them was, like, explicitly romantic. There's no, oh, were they lovers? Like, they're definitely, like, banging. And
yeah.
They definitely had a really strong, like, romantic connection. Even if it wasn't, like, you know, 100% defined and they weren't, like, really on the same page. Like, there's still something to work towards, but they didn't play around with that.
Okay.
And if you like lovers to enemies, this is where it's at. It's
okay.
kind of, like, the best. Meatbun is, like, the best at lovers to enemies or enemies to lovers, that whole back and forth bit. The angst is so well done because just all the feelings, like, towards each other are just so complex, and there's so many different layers of, like, resentment and love and hate, and I really don't think anyone does this better than Meatbun. Like, it's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, chapter 28, i.e. the sex flashback,
right,
is really something. Like, if you're a little heathen, you really ought to read it. Don't miss that. Heathen in question.
Hey!
And also, I didn't talk about the side characters at all, but they are quite memorable and interesting. Even some of the villains or antagonistic characters, like XiMang's master, is like an absolute shitbag, but you kind of still end up liking him a little bit, because he's kind of funny sometimes. You kind of wonder, is he redeemable? I don't know. I kind of hate his guts, but he's interesting. And the Emperor is actually a character in the book as well. Okay. And he's just known as the Emperor. But he's kind of unconventional for an Emperor figure. He kind of just says things in a kind of a crass or unexpected way, and it's kind of funny. It's not really what I expected, so I wonder if there'll be more of him in the future. And it is set in the same world as Arha. Now, personally, it didn't feel like the same world. It was just such a completely different side of it. And I feel like with Arha, we still have the cultivation world is very removed from the mortal world, and it's kind of just like in these isolated little sects, and whereas this feels like it's more like, you know, in the military, in the capital, kind of more enmeshed with like mortal affairs or like kind of the politics and government of the world. Right. So it really almost didn't feel all that connected, but that might change in future volumes. Okay. And I think whether you like it or not, it will make you feel things. Like, you will feel, like, invested in the characters and connected to them and really want to know what happens to them, whether or not they'll be okay.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thank you for reading and doing this little PowerPoint. And if you would like to read it, you can use my link down below to order it and pre-order Volume 2. Yay! Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!